On n'a pas un A. Ok, ça commence donc. Voilà. C'est tout bon. Ok. So hello everyone. We're gonna make an interview with Ashkan Sistanipour, who kindly accepted our invitation to talk on himself, entrepreneurship, and the way he created the business. So hello Ashkan.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for inviting me. Shall I start from the beginning?
As you wish.
So I started architecture since after my school, right away. So I came to Lausanne, and for 2 years, 3 years actually did my bachelor, and then I worked for 2 years in between my master and bachelor to gain more experience, and then I started right away the master. And it was a good opportunity to learn the practical way of architecture. So, and then it was making the master much easier for me as well. So it was helping me a lot. And then after that, I continue as well as my master. Next to my master, I was continuing working as well in order to gain much more experience. So, and then when I finished, I tried to prepare a portfolio, which is the most important part of finding a job. Actually, in architecture, you should have a really good reference of works. So I gathered a few of my projects during the years that I have studied, and I gathered them together with the background of my school as well. So and that I proposed to different offices as well to see the opportunities. And then I started with another private office as well, who was working with Doram as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a good opportunity. I got this opportunity to work on private projects and public projects, and it was a very good experience as well. So and after that, for the moment, I'm now trying to establish my own ideas and my own office, probably in future, and at the same time, but I don't forget to gain still more experience. So 4 years of experience, and still seeking for more. So it's never enough.
Okay.
It's always good to learn. Always good to be up to date about the new ways of construction.
How old are you today?
26.
26. And would you say that age has an impact on the way you tackle business, the way you perceive it, based on your experience?
Not in this subject, because it's much about design and taste. Doesn't matter the age. If you have a good taste, you have good ideas, you have a good concept on the works, on every building that you want to build, and every opportunity you get, you're the winner. If you have a good taste, you have a better taste, you have good ideas, good concept, it helps you more than it's not about the age, I think, personally. So.
Okay. And as we know, you created the business with Nasser, right?
I helped him actually to get his restaurant finished. He kindly asked me to help him for some designs, some ideas actually, for creation of the logo for his restaurant, for example, and some other little ideas. For example, the color of the place, the mobilier.
Mm-hmm. So, like, you've been working on the whole aesthetic.
Yes, sort of.
Concept.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And would you say that as a whole, since you've started working on, from your past experiences with architecture and now as of today, how do you want to build on this to maybe do something of your own?
It's always about the person who wants to build in his future. Of course, I would love to have my own house built by myself on my own taste, and everybody wants that actually. And architecture is a good way of finding that. It's not only for the construction; it's also the construction of life as well. Somehow you build your future. You build it. You think the same way. You take the same steps through your life as well. So gradually, I mean.
Okay.
If that's
Do you have
answering the
anything
question.
that you would like to share with the audience from your standpoint? Because I know you come from Iran. How do you see the merger of cultures between Switzerland and Iran? Do you see there's any similarities, or is there anything to build on from what you can bring
Of
here?
course. In well, every country has a different culture, and in architecture, you should definitely respect that culture. For example, if you're in Switzerland, you have to respect that their culture and their way of construction, their way of thinking. And in Iran, the same thing. Actually I have done my master project in. It was an idea to do the mixture of traditional architecture and the modern architecture to bring them together. A mixture of modern European architecture to the Oriental part, and it was a good opportunity to learn both cultures. So since 15 years old, I was in Switzerland. I know more of the architecture here than in Iran, of course. But it was a good opportunity for me to learn, still go back to my roots, and then learn the principle of construction there as well. To know their culture, how they live. It's about the living. For example, if you want to build a space, a house or a room, doesn't matter. You have to know the person who wants to live in there, to know his routine. And for me, it was a good opportunity actually to learn, to go back to my culture and to read it through, to see how they live actually. And it's absolutely different, of course. Every country has the quite unique culture of themselves, and we respect that. We should respect that in every area of the work. So.
Okay, so you would say that with progress comes the understanding and the respect towards other cultures, and that we, as a humanity, we can only progress if we merge those cultures instead of creating disparities and wars.
Of course, you have to. There is one point. There is a thin line, I would say, in between which you have to understand that. And nowadays, architects, I will talk about it. They mostly think, most of them think that they have their own principal ideas, and they have to adapt it to the client. For example, if a client comes with a different taste, with a different ideas, you have to respect that, because he will be the one or she will be the one that is living in that space. So you have to absolutely adapt yourself to their taste.
And would you say that people have? Would you say that the request? Do they give you the space and the freedom to create something that comes solely from you? Meaning that like they accept in a way that you create a contract or you have a common understanding that you're gonna be the one creating their living space.
Definitely, because for example, you have different types of clients. Uh, there are few that they come to you, they don't think about it, they just want something, for example, modern. They say you create, you build, and that's a good thing. For as me personally being an architect, we love this opportunity to always create what we like. But it's always good to learn the person as well, to learn the person in front of you, the person who wants to, who you're trying to produce for. And this is actually harder than just adapting your ideas to the work. You have to first understand the person, know his taste, know what he likes, know how he lives, know how he drinks, how he eats, how he sleeps. So you have to put yourself in their body, basically in their mentality, and to learn them. And that's actually harder than you create. You create what you want, because it's easier. You know your taste. You're building it. You have some limits for yourself. You know exactly how you want to do it, and you do it. But when you have somebody to tell you, for example, I want the house like this, and I want the kitchen like that, or I want the room like that, you have to adapt yourself.
On a une question sur Periscope. Est-ce que les bâtiments végétaux, c'est le futur?
Dis peut-être en anglais.
Tu peux dire économie, je dis économie, mais écologique plutôt.
Écologique?
Nowadays, these such buildings is good for the environment, of course, but you cannot always talk about environmental and be modern at the same time. you have to adapt both of them. Why not? Why not be modern and at the same time be ecological? You know, to it's a good thing for the future, of course. Now we're nowadays we built much more of a ecological project.
Sustainable. Yeah.
Sustainable, exactly. Développement durable, si tu veux.
So to come back to what you were saying before, would you say that as a whole, the relationship you have with your clients and people you meet in your field is based on trust? Since
Exactly. It's well, always you have the reference before that you start to work. You should have a good reference. You should have a good types of project to show, so they know you what is first. First, when they come to you, they see your taste. You know, they just don't come to you as a client that
they're
you don't know.
recommended by
Exactly.
someone.
Exactly. If it's recommended by somebody, they might come to you. First, they see your work. If they like it, they start to work with you. So you have to have some kind of taste as well. Of course, you have to have some kind of character to your work. You have to have a style, basically. It helps you. It helps you to develop your business. I would say better. It makes it much better and easier. And as you said, développement durable, sustainable business. It was actually sort of my project in Iran,
Okay.
which was yes.
Because on Periscope, someone is asking if it's profitable. There's
It is because nowadays, for example, if you want to build, for example, your own house, you have to first see through the développement durable list. You have to be adapted to their need. For example, nowadays we use panels solaire, solar energy, which is nowadays is becoming very famous, and you have to use it, especially in the countries that is, for example, very hot, especially in Iran, my country. The project that I proposed for my master, it was based on développement durable. It was using the solar energy, wind power, and it was a good opportunity to introduce this such an architecture to my culture, because now they're still not used to this culture of architecture. They're still thinking very modern sometimes, and they don't think about the ecological point of architecture, which is very important nowadays.
Okay. To build on this, would you say that since now the embargo is over Iran and that Iran's gonna expand, does it open doors or opportunities for you since this news has come to the general public a couple months ago? Would you say that Iran is now an open country where anything is possible as much as it is here in Europe or in the United States?
Well, it makes it easier, you know, for import export especially. And if you want to do something good, like something with the quality, of course, maybe you will be needing good materials, for example, good technology to build good things. And where does this technology come from? It's maybe coming from the other countries. It's not especially, maybe it's not exactly in Iran, you know. Of course, in Iran nowadays they have a really good. They're really good in the construction, actually. But to always to make it even better, you have to be open to the other countries. So this, I think, helps. Of course, for me as well, it will help a lot, because I can bring this modern European architecture to Iran, to open it, to show it to them. But of course, it has to be adapted to their culture. It shouldn't be the European pure architecture that is constructed. It should be adapted to their need, to their culture. So yes, of course, it opens many doors, and it's very good. It's a healthy business. It's a healthy idea to open doors, to connect with the other societies.
Would you say that you're proud that now it's possible for you to maybe take all the knowledge you've acquired here in Switzerland and bring it back and help people back home?
Definitely, I'm proud, because sometimes you might learn some, you gain some knowledge from another country, and you have to help. You have to why not present it to your country as well? Why not create an idea from it? Why not develop? Why not evaluate at the same time your country? It's a good thing, you know, to have these doors open. It's a good opportunity. for not only me, for everybody in every subject, in every aspect of business, import, export of materials, construction, anything, food business, doesn't matter.
Someone is asking, what do you think about the house kits? You know, you buy a house already made it. Is gonna kill architecture or no?
No, it's actually it's the history. That's what we call it. If you have an old house, for example, an old building that has character, that has some texture in it, why you demolish it? Why? There's no need. You just keep it and you make it better, of course, but you preserve it. You make it better. You make it à la mode, I would say, and it's good. It's good for the au niveau urbanistique, I would say. It's better for the urban texture of the city. You shouldn't just demolish every old building.
But
Some old buildings, yes, you might, because they're not recorded as historical buildings. You can demolish that, and maybe they are not very much adapted to the how do you say, to the environment. Maybe they're pollution, creating pollution maybe.
this,
And
they still need architect for these houses you buy in kit, like for example, they still need architect or no? It's just they buy the house, they deliver, and they put it.
architecture is about the taste. For example, how to put the walls, I would say. You might buy a room, a simple room, and you say I like it this way, but some people they might say, okay, we want to give a character to it, and that's where architecture comes in handy. You
It's
give
art.
it a character. It's art. It's
Yeah.
exactly, it's art. And since young age that I was doing painting as well, doing art, doing drawings. I always start with with the hands, I would say, with pencil and paper, classical way. But the idea is always coming from a paper and a pencil. You draw, you learn from it, and it's art. It's basically art. Yes.
Would you say that the value of art in general, including architecture, would you think that it's been diminished as of today? That people maybe today have less taste and they perceive aesthetics in a different way. They maybe don't have that eye or that thing that makes the difference.
The ways of life changes people. It's not that they don't care about the art. It's how they live. If, for example, they're having the difficulties, they have to, for example, the person who wakes up 8 in the morning and he goes to work till 7, till 6, he doesn't have that time anymore to think about this way of, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So their ways of life has changed. So as their architecture changes, every person has his personal architect in himself. So if for example, he doesn't have that much time, how can I explain it to you? I don't know if you get it. For example, if he wakes up, he has to have his routine. You know what I mean? He's following a routine, an architect to his life. So the architect follows him. You know what I mean? It's a way of life. I don't know if that answers your question, sort of.
So would you say that as a whole, would that include a part of spirituality to the work?
Yes, it does, because nowadays actually some people they gain much more taste in their through their life, as they live a daily basis life, they gain aspect of architecture that you go further. For example, if you buy an old house, as I said, you rebuild it, then you have to think about the real estate part, how to sell it, how to I don't know, live in it, or whatever you want to do with it. You have to of course think about the financial part, think about selling it, or whatever you want to do with it. So, and that's where real estate comes in handy, comes to think about.
And
But
what's
would
your
you-
future plans in general?
In general, you never know about future, but I like to mix both parts, architecture and business together, because business is always useful in life.
Yeah.
Daily basis, you have to good mentality of business, how to use your money, and one of my ways is I like invest in the buildings, of course, in construction, in buying maybe old houses if they have potential, renovate them to make them bigger maybe if there's a possibility, adapt it to the rules of construction, and then sell it. Why not? It's a very good business nowadays. In many countries they do that, especially in Iran, in Switzerland, they all do it. It's real estate, sort of, immobilier.
Would you say, coming back to the whole technology aspect, would you say that maybe the ways that we have today with all the computers, the screens, all of that, is it fundamentally changing the way you work? As to mean that back in the days, maybe even 15, 20 years ago, people, as you were saying, take a pen, create something, and build on this. And as of now,
Definitely.
they're using programmation and...
It gives a speed to your work. For example, if you have to nowadays, if you have to draw a house, a huge house, to do all the details of it, technology made it much easier. You know, there are programs for architecture, for engineering, for every business. There is a special program made by technology, and which makes it easier. So it gives you time to think further, to create better thing. It helps you, of course. But of course, you shouldn't only rely on technology. Of course, first you have to develop your first idea that comes from your mind, and that is absolutely your hand, your mind. You know that you have to draw it, you have to learn it, you have to touch it. But then, of course, through the work, it will be way easier and faster to go through technology, to use different applications.
So you would say, as a whole, it's an advantage, but maybe
course.
not for the future generations who are maybe going to miss out on the knowledge that you've acquired just taking a pen and doing it from
It's a
scratch.
very interesting question because in my school, the first year we weren't allowed to use computer. We were only allowed to use paper, pencil, whatever you want, the classic material to learn architecture, to feel it, to see how they used to do it, to see the difficulties maybe to see the benefits, maybe to see the positive point, negative point. And now, through the second year and the third year, you get to learn different applications that you can work for architecture. For example, Archicad, AutoCAD, Photoshop, for example, all these that you can bring to your work and use it the way you can.
But do you
to
think
benefit from
people react in a positive manner to all those tools, or maybe the fact that they try to implement a first year that's going to be more traditional, and maybe from there they're going to build on with all the logistics and the tools? Would you think people in general in your school, did they react well? Did they understand, or did they really want to be...
Most of them, of course, they react well to it because they need these tools nowadays to be adapted to compete. Actually, you know, if you have an office who is working hard, who is using all the technology he has, and you're still going by the hand, by the classic way, you might be way further back. You know, because you don't have that speed. You might not grab them. You know, so you have to adapt yourself to the situation. You have to. If you see many offices there, they use all the technology they have to gain a project, to do a concours, for example. For example, if you do a concours, you have a limited time. You have, for example, maybe 1 month, 2 months to develop a concept. So if you want to develop this concept by the classic way, nowadays it might be very late to hand in all the project you have. So maybe the technology part comes handy. You know, using architecture, using Archicad, for example, for planning, using different tools to create beautiful perspective, to show the person, to show to the client, to show it as a concours, and that's important, you know. And it is, of course, some people they might not use it the way they should. They use it negatively, but I think nowadays everybody that they use such a technology, they're trying to benefit from it, and they do actually, even if they know less about it.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Would you say that from there, the whole part about technology and how you have to use the tool, does it add the difficulty component? Meaning, as you said, for the concours, when people have 2 months to create a project, what about the people who don't know how to use those tools? How are they going to be reacting to the situation? Do you think that they naturally make themselves go out of the competition, or...
Exactly, it's like a business. For example, if you're up to date, you know, and you know how to do it, you stay in the business. And if you're not adapted to the situation, you will be left outlaw. You know, you have to adapt yourself. Of course, if I'm here talking to you, I have to know nowadays what you think about. I shouldn't be classical. You know, I shouldn't be thinking, okay, this is my idea, I stay in it. I do this by hand, I stay doing this by hand. No, I have to go further. I have to learn more. I have to see what's the opportunities behind that.
We have another question. Don't you think in nowadays architecture is too much standards and don't take in account the culture of the country?
In some points, yes, because nowadays if they think financial part and they just continue constructing and selling, yes, it doesn't give character to the building. It doesn't help. And in 10 years, as you said, you will demolish it and build a new one. These will be categorized as a sort of architecture that you will demolish them in 10 years or 20 years, and they won't have character because they don't have any characters, because they didn't, at the first point, they didn't think about it. They just built it to sell it for the people who wants to just leave, you know. But if there is a thought behind it, if there is a taste behind it, if there is there's something positive in it, it might be categorized maybe as a historical building, you know. Nowadays that there are many buildings that are built around the world, famous for it. For example, the buildings of Zahadid. She has passed away, but still her buildings are adapted to the market. You know, they're still doing it, and it's beautiful. It's has a character, and they will be one day categorized as historical buildings.
Would you say that with this character component, do you think people nowadays maybe lack the authenticity that makes you different and make your work go through time?
Yes, it's always about people, you know. It's people who choose you. It's people who asks you for things. So it's always them, you know, that makes things grow. Makes you grow your ideas, makes you grow your art, makes you build something. And it's always that. Otherwise, you wouldn't just create for yourself. You know. It's different ideas that comes together. Of course, there is one hand that never makes a sound. That's what my father says. One hand never makes a sound, but if there are two, they make sound. Okay, and if there is more, you will always have much more ideas.
So in a way, you would say that maybe your creativity, if I can put it in those words, is a public good. You're working for the people, if I can say this.
Yes, of course. And at the first point, you have to work for yourself. You have to like it. You have to enjoy it. If you don't like it, you won't pass this taste. You won't pass this beauty to the people in front of you. So at first point, you have to like it yourself. If you don't like it yourself, you won't enjoy first the work, and then you will create something that in future it won't be something. How do we say? Full of taste, full of. They will demolish it.
So you go from the idea that for other people to desire what you create, you need to desire it yourself in the first place.
At the first place, it's if you want something for yourself first, you have to have it for the others, you know. Or if you want or the opposite, if you want something for the others, you can have it for yourself. It's a win-win situation. You have to, but the first is that you have to like it. You have to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, you won't pass this joy to the others. They won't benefit from it as well, and you won't benefit.
Ashkan, we have a question on YouTube. Again on technology, how important do you think is the use of social media in today's organizations?
It is important. It makes you connected to the maybe the other architects, maybe the other people that you will feel their taste. You will get connected to them. It's a good thing, and it makes it faster. Social media.
Exactly.
So it makes the connection much faster than going the classical way. So it's coming to as you said, the technology. It's always about that.
To come back on the desire aspect, would you say where did you get that desire and that how did you get attracted to this field in the first place?
as I said, because at the young age I started doing painting, art. So my mother has sent me to the school of arts, you know. And before architecture, actually, I wanted to start architect. When you go to a place, you your way of thinking is different than the. Okay, how did I open it? You know, is it a good door or is it not? What is the material, the space, the view? You know, the way, the building, the lighting. The light is very important in actually architecture, where the light comes in. Where, how is the ensoleillement? We say in French. So it all depends.
Would you say, talking about the light, it makes me think of maybe the way Gaudi built his
course.
structures in Barcelona, because you mentioned before.
Mhm.
Would you say that today people are would be capable of doing such a thing?
Yes, why not? You can. Everything's possible nowadays. Nowadays, you can do whatever you want, and whatever idea you have, you can bring it to life. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of taste, and a matter of the financial part. You know, to see if the person who wants to spend in this much of time, he wants to put effort to it. You know, is it worth it in future? It's all about that. But of course. Gaudi and other architects that are famous now, it's because of their passion. It's because of the works that they have done, that they have created. There is a character in it. And that's why it makes it historical, you know? It makes it stay alive.
So you would say that the desire transposes, shifts itself into a historical moment in a way.
Exactly. Because if you create something that you really like, and the majority, they adapt themselves to it and they like it, you see the potential in it. You see the building can have this potential to becoming something historical. Why not? It's all about the taste. Finally, it all comes to the joy, it's inside you. You cannot like architecture and create something that is going to be historical. No, you won't ever see any architect that has created something and he was not passionate about it. You will see always, for example, Corbusier, whatever architect you will see, all they have created, they love it, and they're proud of it. So it means that they had at the first point they enjoyed it. So
Yeah, what's your point of view about Corbusier? Another question.
what do you
From
want me
which
to say?
standpoint?
It's a
Yeah.
great architect. We always get reference from him. It's
famous.
the foot of the one foot of the architecture. You know, it's a very important. He's a very important. He has managed to bring some ideas to architecture that are still useful. There are still people that are still using it. These tools. He has brought some tools to architecture. So that's very important. Every architect that is, for example, Mies van der Rohe or Zaha Hadid, they have all brought a tool to architecture. They have brought a different aspect to it, and it's all beautiful.
Would you say,
To learn from it.
speaking on this, that all those architects, do you think they anticipated the changes that occur today? Do you think that's also one of the reasons why they're seen as maybe avant-gardist, and how that something that they implemented is lasting for so much time?
Yes, of course, because it's a way, you know. Sometimes, for example, if you're architect, they make this way further. Instead of going, for example, straight, they make it turn around. But still, it's a way, you know. You're still going that way. You're still following. It's a time. It's future, you know. You're getting there. So all the architects they touch this way somehow. They might make this way further, and they might make it closer to the future. So it's a both side. Some architect they make it closer. They make it much more beautiful this way, and some not. Some they're just sort of ruin it, I would say.
Would you say that it's maybe a gift that they give you, but that you can really only appreciate through time? That
Of
maybe
course.
it's not going to be appreciated from the first generation, but maybe
In
4 or
future,
5 generations
of course,
on, they're
of
going to
course.
understand the extent to which and the
Exactly.
dedication that has to be put
It-
into place.
It's exactly what we thought as a historical. For example, now you do one thing, now you build a house that maybe nowadays they see it they see it very modern, but in future this will become sort of a history. They will learn from it. They will say, okay, at that time they were building such a houses. They were building they were using such a technology to build such houses. But in future it's totally different. You always come back. You always have a reference to the history. You always look how they used to do it, how they developed the architecture. It's a development. You see it. You see it through the time.
To me, one of the examples that struck my mind still to this day, and I was wondering if they ever mention it as you study architecture, how do you perceive the way they build the pyramids? Because that's the biggest example of something that's been a tremendous amount of work. People don't really understand how it's been done, and it's been lasting for thousands and thousands of years.
Of course. It becomes to the culture of the people that living in that time, you know. First is their culture. First is their way of living. At that time, they were thinking, okay, this should be the right way to construct. Maybe now it's not, you know. Maybe now they don't think the same way, but at the time it was the correct way for them to think that way, to build that way, to build such pyramids, to use it the way they wanted to. But now maybe it's different. Maybe now it's not the time to build like that, because it's a waste of maybe space, maybe waste of land, maybe waste of time and the money. But it always depends. You have to always adapt yourself. Exactly.
Don't do you think that the building they're building now, they're gonna see later in the future, like historical way, you know, like all the buildings, like you said, Gaudi?
Of course, some buildings, yes. Some buildings you can categorize them as future historical buildings. You see them now, you say, okay, this building has a potential of becoming something historical in future.
Yeah.
But some works, no. For example, a simple building that they have built in the town is just
To accommodate people.
to accommodate people, to make residence for people, maybe. And maybe it won't be any more useful in the late future, you know. But some buildings, they have this possibility. If they have well thought, if they have been well made, it will keep on going for ages, you know, and it will be always an example to the other architects and the future people.
Is there in
Future
Lausanne?
students. In Lausanne, well, there is still, for example, Corbusier, as you said, close to, I forgot the area.
But I mean, new buildings. Do you think they're gonna?
The new construction they do. Of course, now an office in Basel, Herzog de Moreau, they do very beautiful buildings, and they do very conceptual design. And now it doesn't come anything in my mind to tell you that
In Lausanne,
has a potential of becoming historical. Of course, we have Musée Olympique or some, but they have done a renovation on it. You see, so it's you cannot always. For example, the Hotel Royal Savoie. It's the same thing. It was an old building, and they rebuilt it. They made a hotel, and it's beautiful. It's working, you know.
Okay.
They didn't demolish it totally. They rebuilt it. They renovated it. They made it bigger, beautiful, and it's working perfectly.
Okay. Which cities would you say, in your sense, which cities would you be inspired by the most, as of today?
You mean in the whole world or only in Switzerland?
Any city you visited, which one struck you the most in terms of
Architecture?
beauty?
Which type of beauty you mean? You mean nature or architecture?
Both.
But nature is always beautiful in Switzerland, you know. You have a beautiful landscapes, panoramic views, you know. But it's really difficult question, you know. It's really difficult because every city has its own character that you like. You go to Mykonos, all the houses are white, they're beautiful. It has its personal architecture. It's something else. You go to my city, Kerman, in Iran, it has its own taste, it has its own way of architecture. So you cannot really tell. It's really difficult for me to answer that, because I enjoy many cities, you know, to visit as an architecture or as a landscape or as a natural beauty. Every city has its own beauty, you know. You cannot. I cannot say there is one that is I love it the most. I can't.
For sure, there's nothing absolute, of course.
There is nothing absolute, exactly.
But would you say, is there any city you would like to, or do you have any planned?
Visiting a lot of cities in Iran, which I haven't had the opportunity yet. So Shiraz, Isfahan, they are all pure architecture, I would say. They have many good aspects,
Have you ever been to Persepolis by any chance?
and unfortunately not. And this is something that I want to do, and I will do it, with no doubt.
Okay. We wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much for your interview.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Tamoul. Tamoul, très très